He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minutes!
Hello, and welcome once again to another hiatus episode of Bat Minutes Returns. Just Bat Minute in general now, actually, because we're out of the second season, so it's no longer Bat Minute Returns. We're the midpoint between Returns and Forever, so Bat Minute Forever, Rit Ever, I guess. Yeah, that's fine. That works.
That'll do.
If anyone can't tell, I did not think of an introduction for this episode. I am one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
And I am notorious gangster Johnny Viciously.
Ooh, nice.
Original gangster.
Yes, the OG.
And today we're joined by another guest. Actually, a guest that I always meant to get on the previous two seasons, and then just messing about with scheduling and stuff in my own head. Unfortunately, fell through the cracks. But we have him here now, all the way from the Rocky Minutes, Doug Greenberg.
Yeah, hello, gentlemen. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks for joining
I do all the
us.
scheduling for Rocky Minutes, so I know what a nightmare it is trying to get people on and trying to find slots for everybody.
And one of those things, actually, before we even get into what this film's about, because it only really dawned on me, like, as we finished Returns, is like, we did a whole movie about a guy playing the Penguin. And then you host a podcast starring what is, to most people, still like the most iconic version of the Penguin, and Burgess Meredith.
Yeah.
So we kind of missed a trick there. So, out of context of this episode, Doug, do you have who do you prefer in the role of the Penguin? Do you have to side with Burgess Meredith, or do you like Danny DeVito's portrayal?
I do like Danny DeVito's portrayal of it. He was such a like a creepy little, like, you can almost smell him on screen. He was so disgusting. But I mean, as a kid, I grew up watching the old Batman show, and Burgess Meredith has always been my Penguin. And it's not because of my connection to him in Rocky. It's funny, with our guests, we have a lot of Rocky fans. The Rocky community is huge. So the Rocky fans, obviously, their number one Burgess Meredith character is Mickey, but we still have plenty of fans that their number one Burgess Meredith is the Penguin.
Oh my God! More than Mickey.
I wouldn't say more than Mickey, but there's been quite a few. Yeah, quite a few.
I was actually thinking, though, just the other day, like we mentioned it on the Listener's Cave. Where I think I was listening to an episode of Kevin Smith's podcast, and someone in the audience asked him the question of, like, if we were to do a modern update of the 60s Batman, like, make that show now, who would you cast in the parts and stuff? And I was having a lot of fun, like, oh yeah, who would be good for that? And I was like, Jermaine Clement would be a good Batman, just in that kind of, like, treating it very dry and seriously, but, like, he's obviously a very funny man and stuff.
That would be good. I'd like that.
But the thing is, I couldn't get past, is like, if you're gonna do that now, get DeVito for the Penguin, because he's just so, like, he'd love to do it. He's already said he wants to do it, and it's like, have him in more of a toned down Burgess Meredith, not having him spew black friggin' ooze all the time.
Well, DeVito can play any type of the Penguin. I think, he can do anything.
But I think it's now because, like, it's a good idea, actually. Like, I think that's the thing they should legitimately do, is, like, maybe not as a whole series, but, like, let's do like a modern 60s Batman and just do
like a 2-hour sort of special.
Yeah, just to make a limited series, like 4 episodes or something.
Just like kind of over the top, like campy, comic booky style.
Yeah, and then just get all your celebrity mates and like, Kristen Shaw is Catwoman and all this sort of stuff.
No, you're advocating for a crazy, over the top, silly show.
Yeah.
But you don't like this movie.
Oh yeah, so well, that's
what the hell? This is a brilliant masterpiece of stupidity.
But after watching, I'm sorry, now.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, to formally introduce what we're talking about here, in case people can't tell by the episode title. We are talking about the 1984 classic, Johnny Dangerously, starring Michael Keaton, starring our Batman, or who was our Batman, and now is, didn't come back for the third one. So we're done with him. He's out the door.
Yeah, screw that guy. We've got new, fresh meat.
Which it blows my mind that the filmmakers saw, this version of Michael Keaton and Mr. Mom Michael Keaton and said, that guy is going to be a great Batman.
Well,
it is weird, isn't it? Like Tim Burton advocated for him and really pushed it, but loads of people complained when he was cast. There were letters written and everything because it's like, this guy, what the hell? And now everybody loves him.
It is weird though, because apparently, like, it was Tim Burton was obviously, he was into casting him. But apparently it was originally John Peters was the one who was like, oh yeah, Michael Keaton, he'd be a good Batman. Because he'd seen him in Clean and Sober, which is like a very somber drama about, like, alcoholism and stuff. And just from that one role alone, he was just like, that guy could play Batman. So maybe he just didn't see Mr. Mom, and then Johnny Dangerously, he just didn't associate him with it. He's like, oh no, people. He
saw it later and was like, what the hell?
What was I thinking? It worked.
It'd be like somebody watching like Foxcatcher and never having seen Steve Carell in anything else. It's just like, that guy could play Batman. Just been like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yes, he's a very deep actor. He really goes to those depths.
It totally works though.
It does. That's the crazy thing. But then on the flip side, I think it works in this. I like seeing silly Michael Keaton because he's got a crazy face.
Yeah.
He can do some weird faces and smiles.
Oh, for sure. I think I should say, though, because you kind of set me up for the fall there, John. I was saying I don't like this movie. It's not that I don't like it. It's just that I didn't think it was that great. I know a lot of people, because we posted about this on Facebook and stuff, and I got people responding with like quotes from the movie. So it obviously has a fan base. Mm-hmm. But I just didn't like, and the lines they were quoting back to me were ones I didn't find funny and stuff. I was like, this landed with some people, but it did not land with me.
Well, it's become popular now, but when I was looking into it, the movie didn't do great. It did okay, but the director Amy Heckerling, she attributed the film's failure to the public's lack of familiarity with gangster movies at the time. Like, so she was saying, like, people aren't into these movies anymore, so they don't understand what we're satirizing.
Oh, wow.
She said, I think that was the main problem, because all the actors and writers did great, but we were definitely satirizing something. I mean, unless you watch 1930s movies on TV at night, people don't remember.
Yeah.
So, and then she said, somebody told me that during a screening, they were sitting next to Brian De Palma, who had just done Scarface, and he was in hysterics.
No,
which is a wonderful image.
Is it because, throughout the years, we've seen that kind of style over and over again, so, like, we got it?
I think that's probably what it is, because I've only seen a couple of the movies it's satirizing. Mm-hmm. Whereas I've seen satires of the movie it's satirizing more.
Yeah, I think I really haven't seen too many 30s gangster movies myself. But they have, there's a couple of, standbys, like the bowler hat and the Tommy gun and everything. Those are in all those old school movies. But I've never seen the originals.
No, same.
Well, that's the thing, though. She says that, and it's like, maybe. But then this is a couple of years after, like, Bugsy Malone, which was a huge success. And was spoofing 1930s gangster movies. So it's like, I think that, like, Amy Heckerling's doing the old lighting guy on Game of Thrones excuse of like, oh no, you needed to have your TV camera. You weren't doing that. It's like, and people are like, oh, we didn't think your movie was funny. It's like, you hadn't seen enough of the movies it was making fun of. Maybe that was the problem.
It's too intelligent.
Oh yeah, that's totally what it is.
It's too clever for Niall.
It's far more slapsticky than I would have thought.
Yeah, I got a vibe of like, I guess the closest thing I could say is Naked Gun.
Oh, definitely.
Something. Well, that was what the thing I did get. There's a real Zucker Brothers vibe for it, but that's because it's just doing that thing of like throwing jokes at you constantly, and then hoping like if you don't like that one, there's another one around the corner. Mm-hmm. But the thing is,
Tommy gun of jokes.
But the Zucker Brothers movies, most of their jokes are hits. This one was just like every once in a while a funny one would get on. But it'd be in a sea of just like...
I'll be honest, I was wetting myself laughing.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really found this movie funny.
I will say, though, like, in light of that, though, it did read that Amy Heckerling, this inspired her to... the failure of this movie inspired her to write only her own scripts. Because she's like, oh, well, that was clearly the problem, was the script. I'm going to write my own stuff now, so... I do wonder if their excuse was a slight defensive, like, oh, no, that was the problem. It wasn't that the movie was bad.
Well, she's done a lot of big movies, hasn't she? I mean, she's done Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh,
I've never seen that. It's controversial. What else? Look Who's Talking. Clueless. That's probably one of the best ones.
Oh, yeah. I think that's what she's mostly known for now is Clueless. Of course, introduced the world to Alicia Silverstone, who we'll be talking quite a bit about in the next movie. Not the next movie, the movie after Batman Forever.
Coming soon-ish.
And I think that Amy Heckerling does have a roller coaster career. Because it's like, oh, she did like Fast Times, and then this, and then it's like, oh, she did Look Who's Talking, and then Look Who's Talking Too, and then she did Clueless, and then she did Loser, which is like only remembered for having that Teenage Dirtbag song in it. If like that song didn't exist, I
didn't even know that.
Oh, that's the only reason I remember that Loser exists is because it had two of the cast members of American Pie in it, and that song was the spin-off single of it.
By everyone's favorite band, Wheatus.
Well, I did actually note, I was disappointed to find out, looking into her, that she had a movie came out in 2012 called Vamps, which starred Kristen Ritter and Alicia Silverstone as, like, and Mary Lou Henner, actually, who's in this, as, like, two modern socialites who are also vampires. And it's just about, like, Kristen Ritter's trying to get a man and stuff like that. And, her dad doesn't approve because he hates vampires and stuff. And on paper, this sounds great. And then all the reviews were like, nah, this just doesn't land. I was just like, what? How could you have such a good cast and such a solid premise and then not really deliver? And then I remembered she was a director of Johnny Dangerously. And it was like, oh, now it makes sense.
Well, you're outnumbered, Niall. You're outnumbered. And I think this movie gets off to a good start as well because you get the theme song by Weird Al Yankovic. But when I looked into it, for legal reasons, the song This Is the Life was not on the home video releases until 2002. Which is insane. They just put the song at the end, Let's Misbehave. They just put that at the start as well.
So what was at the opening in the original release?
The original release is the Weird Al one.
And then what about when it was originally released on video?
And then on video, it's Let's Misbehave.
Oh, Let's.
By Cole Porter. Okay. And then in 2002, they finally put the original song by Weird Al back in because I think they'd sorted out the legal problems.
Is that one as kind of jaunty as this?
It's the one that plays. It's a slightly different version, but it's the one that plays at the very end of the film. So it's kind of the same kind of vibe. I think it's like a fun time kind of thing.
You need that at the opening to kind of let you know what's in store.
Yeah, it set the tone instantly. I this is the first time I've seen this, and I was like, "Oh, okay, it's that type of movie."
Yeah, same.
Niall said we're watching this, and we're going to do a show on it. So I deliberately didn't even look up what type of movie this was. Oh. I didn't know it was about. From the name, I was like, it's probably like gangsters or something. That's all I know.
Yeah. But I always thought it was like a far more serious movie than what it turned out to be.
No.
Yeah.
But I will say the first like 10 minutes of it or so, I did really enjoy. And it was a lot of it was the setup. It was that Weird Al song. It gets you off to a good start. It's like, I like Weird Al. This is a fun, jaunty song and stuff.
What was he doing at the time? Was he just writing music? He wasn't acting, right? Or was he?
No acting that I can think of. When was UHF? That was later, wasn't it?
That was late 80s, 88 maybe, 89.
So yeah, just the music, I think.
Yeah, but yeah, also as well, like once the song starts, I have an immediate thing in my head now where I'm like, oh, that's a bit of ragtime. And then I have like the specter of Steve Buscemi in Ghost World coming in behind me going, well, no, technically ragtime is more of a 1920s through 1925. Like, it's like specifically telling you exactly what ragtime is.
I kid you not, I have ragtime music written in my notes. So I thought it was ragtime myself.
It's like, well, I'm gonna have to go ring up Steve Buscemi himself and see. He's like, I played that part like 18 years ago. I don't remember any of that.
I don't remember a damn thing about that. Surely the most important thing in the first 10 minutes, though, Niall, that really, really got you going, other than, of course, the hilariously over-the-top old-school acting, was Michael Keaton's fantastic, absurd makeup.
Yeah.
Did you notice that? He's wearing a heck of a lot of eyeliner.
I was wondering, like that, this Beetlejuice and his makeup in the Batman cowl. It's like, did he just have a thing for mascara in the 80s or something? Like,
maybe.
That's just his makeup. He's just a goth.
He was ahead of his time.
Hell yeah.
I just do wonder if he did have, like, maybe back then people thought, oh yeah, Michael Keaton's got weird eyes. You need to like line them a lot, otherwise it looks strange on camera. But now it's like, I don't understand. Why has he got so much eyeliner on in this opening scene? This is crazy.
It's very distracting. Like it's cool, but it's very peculiar.
Yeah, it's almost like he's like a corpse or something. Like he just got up out of a coffin. He's like, yeah, just wiping off all the stuff. Maybe
he's got a thing where he wants to accentuate his striking blue eyes.
Maybe he that's one of the most important things for a Batman, the eyes and the lips.
Keaton always said, like, I need to act with my eyes. So like originally in Batman they were gonna have like reflective mirror slats where his eyes were, and Keaton was like, give me something here. But it was all the whole time, it was all just like, I need to get those baby blues out there. So that's what's gonna sell
the world
this movie.
Needs to know.
I will say, actually, as well, the opening joke did get me, where they give you the date, and it's like comes up as subtitles, and then a card literally crashes into the subtitles.
That was amazing.
I thought that was a good one to start off on. And weirdly enough, this past week, I finally started watching Doom Patrol, the DC, the streaming. I don't know if it's been cancelled yet. I have a feeling it might be, but.
No, I know the Swamp Thing one's been cancelled already.
I do. The Doom Patrol is quite popular, and I think I know why. It's because it's pretty damn good. But for people who don't know, there's a character in that played by Diane Guerrero, who is from like Orange Is the New Black and stuff, called Crazy Jane, and she's like a schizophrenic who has like 64 personalities, but each personality has a different superpower. And one of her superpowers is that she can speak out subtitles and then use them as weapons. So there's bits where like she's fighting literal Nazis, like from like the 40s have come back somehow, and she'll say like Nazi mother, and like it'll come out as like these silver words, and she'll grab them and be able to like stab them in the throat with them and stuff.
Niall, you've sold me on this show instantly.
I think it's genuinely like, I'm only like 5 or 6 episodes in, but I'm like, oh, this is great. Like I absolutely love this. Like
bonus episodes coming soon on the Patreon.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, it was just weird that I started that last week, and then like within like a couple of days, I was like, oh, that's the same kind of thing, like subtitles that are actually it was actually there instead of just being an image on screen.
I'm a fan of that when the movie kind of makes fun of itself or uses something within the movie or within the TV world that we're watching it, and like, well, a perfect example is coming up in this, the fade out effect.
With the flashback and
stuff.
the
flashback effect when the kids.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I don't want to jump too far ahead if you guys are going step by step.
Don't worry. We're not. We can jump all over the place. We're not doing it like minute by minute.
We're going to look at each minute of the movie. So this whole show is going to take about 18 hours, pretty much.
I just took tomorrow off work. It's fine. Don't worry. But no, that flashback is. That's how I want a comedy movie to do a flashback. That's genius.
Yeah, like it starts to fade out, and then the kid mentions it, and then it stops, and then he says, "Oh, it always does that when I talk about the past," and then it happens again. It was beautiful, beautifully done.
It's a good flashback as well because we basically, Michael Keaton's character Johnny, he's working in a pet shop, but he used to be a criminal. So he's telling us all about his life. So it's a flashback to the past, 1910 to be precise. So in the flashback as well, we get the first of a recurring gag where Johnny's mother, Ma Kelly, needs an operation, or there's something wrong with her. There's something wrong with her every 5 minutes. And since the execution of Johnny's father, Killer Kelly, she's had to look after the two of them. There's brothers. And one of them is fascinated by the law. Isn't he?
I did.
So that's not going to work out well.
I did have an instant sort of sympathy in the fact, it was an Irish mother. So it's like, I can get on board with this character. I understand everything about this guy now.
How was the portrayal of the old Irish Irish
this
mom?
one's still like the city's not as big, but the same exact principle.
From my limited experience, it seems pretty accurate to an Irish mother, to be honest.
If there was some scene of her boiling Coke to take care of an illness, then yes, that would have been.
And she comes out with one of my favorite lines in the whole movie, because it's clearly the same actress that you see later on.
Mm-hmm.
But she says, I hope I reach 30.
Oh, yeah.
She's clearly about 60.
Those exaggerated, those hyperbole gags. Like it's snowing out, right? It's snowing out, and somebody comments on the weather, and she goes, "The worst July in years."
It took me a second to get that. I was like, "Wait a minute, July."
That just reminded me a bit of one of my favorite recurring jokes that Stuart Lee, like the stand-up, does, where he'll talk about my son the other day, he was watching Peppa Pig. He's absolutely addicted to Peppa Pig. He'll sit and watch that. Gets up, you get him up in the morning, 6 a.m. He sits there for about 2 hours watching nothing but Peppa Pig. 28 years old, this kid. And he'll just do that over. He'll slip it in here and there, and it always works every time because he always lures you into this sense that he's talking about a kid, and then he'll just do the same joke.
That's great.
That's like a joke you would get in this, definitely.
Oh yeah.
The way you've got, you see some gangsters coming out of the toilets that say henchman and henchwoman.
We'll say also as well, the set design brought me right back to Batman '89. This is just this. Yeah. This is the first Gotham. It's not quite the Batman Returns Gotham, because that's even more German expressionistic, noirish and stuff. But this is full on if they just used the same sets, I wouldn't have been surprised.
Well, I'll be honest. Having never been there, my mind, when I think of New York, just pictures this. This is how I see New York City.
That would be one of the outer boroughs. Manhattan is a typical city, skyscrapers everywhere. But I'd say maybe Brooklyn. Wait, is this supposed to take place in Brooklyn?
That's a good question, actually. It says New York, but does it specify?
I don't know. But you would find that's kind of in Brooklyn, Queens, those types of places.
That's how I always think of the place. I don't know what it is. I think a lot of people might think of the skyscrapers, like you're saying, but maybe it's the type of movies I watch where they're always setting it in a place like this, quite a big built-up place, but it's got almost like a village feel.
Yeah. I
remember the Simpsons made fun of it. I think they did the flashback to when, I think it's the episode where Bart's born, or thereabout, or maybe it was the one where Lisa's born. But they have it was 1980 or something. And it goes back and you see all these kids with flat caps running around the streets and stuff. And they're like, "Hey, you guys want to play stickball?" "Oh, certainly." And then they just run into a video arcade and start playing an actual video game.
It's fantastic.
I mean, surely everyone in New York wears a flat cap, right?
Naturally. It's
of course.
When you walk into the city, they hand you one.
Oh yeah, it's the law.
It's the law.
I always like that. This is a thing. If you do see a lot of the old gangster movies and stuff, there's a thing. It's kind of in this movie where you'll have the main character will start off with a flat cap to indicate that he's lower class, and as the movie progresses, his hat will get fancier. So at the end, he'll be wearing a really snazzy derby or something, and it's just he's made it now, baby. It's shows
the status of the person, or very young kids wear those newsboy caps.
Yeah,
yeah. I want to bring that back. If I had a kid, I'd want him wearing that hat.
I wear one of those hats quite often.
Oh, that's cool. I like them. I think they're good. I don't think they'd suit me. But
Doug, you work hard. You could qualify to get a bowler hat within a couple of years.
I'm working my way up the ranks.
It's gonna be it's Captain Greenberg, and it's you with this big top hat on. Hey, I made it.
Like an Abe Lincoln stovepipe hat.
Yeah.
Oh my God, beautiful.
We'll say wasn't a fan of the child actors though. The guy playing Johnny is not too bad, but the one playing his little brother, this kid,
Yeah,
not so much.
But the acting's supposed to be kind of crap. Like, it's doing that old-fashioned, like, gee whiz kind of, like, over the top, silly, corny kind of thing.
I think it's just like, again, that the kid playing young Johnny gets away with that, but the kid like playing his little brother, he just seems like, I don't think he could even really say the lines. I think they just put him in front of the camera and hope for the best. And he's just like, oh, he'll do. He's fine.
I think this is the only thing that kid did. I was looking up the IMDb credits of these actors. I don't think he did anything else after this. Maybe he was related to one of the production people or something.
Probably, yeah. Just get my kid in. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
But you do get the kids being involved in an awesome fight scene.
Oh,
The fight at Maroney's. It was like a Jackie Chan movie.
At the
maybe not quite that good.
With the are you talking about the fight at the nightclub?
Yeah, near the beginning where it's like still in the flashback and they're like jumping over the bar and swinging off things. It's crazy.
Did you see the stuntman that was doing little young Johnny's part was obviously a man, just a slight of stature man.
He's considerably older.
It was.
We'll say though, in linking into Batman, would be remiss if we didn't mention the fact that one of the villainous characters in this movie is called Maroni. Of course,
yes,
like Boss Maroni, who we will be talking briefly about in Batman Forever because he's mentioned. And of course, it was played by Eric Roberts in The Dark Knight, most famously known in the comics for the guy who splashes the acid on Two-Face's or in Harvey Dent's face. And I thought it was weird. He's actually called in this. He's called Roman Maroni, which is like Carmen the Roman Falcone. And it's like, oh my god, it's like blending the two characters together.
Ooh, that is like a reference. I didn't even pick up on that myself.
And I did notice as well in the writing on the window, because Maroni would be spelt Maroni, but they've put it Moroni, so it's Moroni. If you like Moroni, like that's the joke.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah.
And for the longest time, when I saw the guy, I don't know why, I thought he was been played by Omar Sharif. I was like,
yeah, he looks like him.
Yeah, totally looks like him.
I was like, I didn't realize Omar Sharif did comedy. What the hell?
Is he supposed to? He's not supposed to be an Italian gangster, though, right? Because his accent. I don't know what the hell it is.
I had that exact question. I was going to ask you. I was hoping you could illuminate me. He's called Maroni. So it's like, okay, he's Italian.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, his accent and the way he looks, it's like, is this just like an Italian accent I'm not aware of? It's like, a lot of people don't know all the English accents. That's fine.
Right, but he has more of a Middle Eastern kind of look to him. And
it was weird.
His broken English and the words that he says wrong are hilarious, by the way.
Corksucker.
All of it. My father, he said Fargan Icehole and Corksucker for years when I was a kid, and I never knew where it came from.
Is he referencing this movie?
Yes, he was. He must have been.
He's not just from the same place.
The same Middle Eastern country.
It could be that, like, genuinely, though, that this is, like, Johnny Dangerously was a bigger... Because I had not heard about this film until, like, recently. Like, I had never come across it. But from mentioning it online to American people, most people, like, maybe because they're slightly older than us or something, but they were like, oh, yeah, of course I know Johnny Dangerously. Like this was a big movie or something. I was like, I've never come across this thing before.
Bastages.
But even, like, I will say other things within the movie I also was not familiar with, and I'm still not really familiar with. Like, I know you have a soft spot for him, Doug, because he's a Jersey boy. Joe Piscopo. Who's major part of this movie. And my knowledge of Joe Piscopo was that one scene in The Simpsons where Bart's watching Krusty's talk show, and then it cuts to the adverts, and he's like, I miss Joe Piscopo. And I was like, as a kid, never knew who he was talking about. Still, I know who Joe Piscopo is now, but I just know, like, oh, I guess he was an SNL guy.
Yeah.
And then he did some films, and now he was kind of mildly famous for a while.
Yeah, I don't think... I mean, we've had quite a few much more famous people come through New Jersey that were born and raised here, like Danny DeVito himself and Jack Nicholson. But Joe Piscopo, I don't know if he's more like a punchline. First of all, his name sounds made up.
Yeah.
And I don't. Yeah, it's like nobody takes Joe Piscopo seriously. I don't know.
Oh, the poor guy.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Rehabilitate him.
I thought he was great in this.
Oh, he does a good
He's really
job.
good.
Yeah. I will say that the only other thing I did apparently know him from was that he's in one episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation when Data is trying to learn about humor. And so he goes into the holodeck and he gets a comic played by Joe Piscopo.
Oh my god!
To teach him how to do comedy, and it's terrible.
It's absolutely awful.
He was
doing Joe Piscopo doing like a Jerry Lewis impression, falling about the place, and you're just like, "Is this?" Because Data's like, "Is this supposed to be funny?" And you're like, "Yeah, is it supposed to be funny? This is awful."
I don't know if he does it anymore, but he was doing the local stand-up circuit around the state years ago.
Oh, that's if he is, go and see him and report back, and we can make a bonus episode.
Okay, and I'll tell him how much I love Johnny Dangerously.
Yeah,
he might be delighted. Get a Blu-ray of it. Get him to sign it. Wonderful.
Right? I'll have to look him up.
But I love as well because the fight scene leads to Johnny being sort of adopted, kind of by local gangsters.
Oh yeah,
and using him in their rivalry with Maroney. And so then it does like a bit of a time jump, and you see Michael Keaton as a teen. Johnny Dangerously as a teen, played by Michael Keaton, which is again one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
The thing is that's weirdly like expanded upon to like a ridiculous point where you kind of forget about it, but like in Goodfellas, like where they play it dead seriously, you see like young Henry Hill on his way up, played by a young actor, young Tommy DeVito, played by a young actor. Then it's supposed to cut like 10 years later. And it's Ray Liotta. And he's like, well, Ray Liotta is like, what, 25, 28, something like that. And then Joe Pesci as Tommy DeVito. I was like, that man's like 47 years old. How the hell is he the same kid that he grew up with?
It wasn't even close.
Yeah, for years I just accepted that. And it was only recently I've been like, wait a minute, what the hell? He's supposed to be the same guy.
That makes it funnier.
Well, it's, you could talk it off as comedy, but in Goodfellas, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it is stretching it somewhat.
Just like the old Irish lady playing 29.
And you get a brilliant bit as well with Maroney sending them in this section. He tries to kill the gang by sending an automaton with a machine gun.
Oh, yeah.
And they come out with the line, "He sent us a robot." They deliver it like that's just a perfectly normal thing to say.
Right. And I wonder, did they have robots back in the 30s? Or
yeah, was that even a thing? Like at theme parks and stuff?
I guess you would have had like automatons and stuff like that. Like it would have been. I think the concept would have been in like sci-fi and stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe they might have just been called automatons or something. Maybe the robot thing that term came back in the 50s or something.
I don't know.
But I imagine there must have been some form of science fiction would have introduced the idea of metallic people that you program and stuff. I should have mentioned though, because they have the shootout, the actual before that shootout, we of course had the Maroney opening fire on Johnny's father figure, Jocko Dundee. Which of course now is going to be a name forever associated with Crocodile Dundee. So you're just like, is he Australian? He doesn't look Australian. But of course played by Peter Boyle, who people would know mostly nowadays is like, oh, the guy from Everybody Loves Raymond. Of course, classic character actor was in Young Frankenstein, played Frankenstein's monster. Of course, in Taxi Driver as well, which is
oh crap, yeah,
he's the guy. It's just one of Travis Bickle's quote unquote friends, because Travis Bickle doesn't really have any friends in that movie.
Yeah, co-worker. We'll say co-worker.
Yeah. He has a great scene in that movie, Peter Boyle, where it's just like he's just trying to give Travis advice, and it's just the most generically banal advice ever. And he's just like, because the line I always quote was like, "Don't worry so much, relax, killer, you'll be all right." Just that's the thing I always tell myself whenever I'm just like need to get something done, and be like, "Oh, don't worry so much." Peter Boyle.
You call yourself killer?
But I guess that's kind of appropriate because the Joker is just about to come out, and it's very, very clearly influenced by Taxi Driver. So I guess it's a kind of tie-in.
Wow.
But of course, Peter Boyle and Michael Keaton would go on to later work on The Dream Team, which is a movie I think we will probably end up covering on the Patreon at some point, John. Because let's see the exact plot here.
I'm game without even hearing the plot.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
It says it's got the psychiatrist. It came out in '89 as well, so it's like this is the same year as Batman. Psychiatrist Dr. Weitzman takes 4 mental patients on an outing to Yankee Stadium. Billy, Michael Keaton, is a nihilistic author. Henry, Christopher Lloyd, lost his bearings while working as a mailman. Jack, Peter Boyle, thinks he is the world's scapegoat. And the childlike Albert, Stephen First, is obsessed with baseball broadcasts. When 2 corrupt cops incapacitate Dr. Weitzman, the 4 troubled men must fend for themselves amidst the lunacy of New York City. And I was like, oh, I bet you it's going to be wacky times in that one.
Sounds good.
I'm all in. That sounds wonderful.
I'll watch that. I'll watch it tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, we keep doing the Patreon. I'm gonna have to do something eventually. So it's like, I guess we're doing the Dream Team.
Let me just get some treatment for my enlarged scrotum syndrome. What the hell is that scene about in this?
Oh God, no! Again, I think a lot of it's just like, just keep throwing jokes at it. Like,
yeah.
Like this could have been like we had an SNL sketch that just didn't go anywhere. So now it's this. Like this is what became of it.
This is a weird plot point because so Johnny's brother wants to quit law school to get laid.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how those two things go together.
Mm-hmm.
So he convinces him to stay by showing him a video that he just has handy, as you do, about enlarged scrotum syndrome. But surely you'd be getting that from maybe not getting laid.
Yes. I was confused at this too. This might have been one of those jokes that didn't land with me.
If it was the other way, I would get it. You know, like, oh, he's not getting laid, so he's gonna have this problem. Okay,
right.
Yeah, that's mildly amusing, I guess.
I did appreciate like the Betty Boop cartoon with the guy who has like a scrotum for a head. But again, it just seemed like we had this idea and we needed to work it into some movie. So this will do. Like this is a fine outlet for it.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those jokes. This was like this could have been. I think this was apparently it was one of the first PG-13, so it would have been hot off the heels of like Temple of Doom and Gremlins and stuff.
Oh,
and I can imagine this joke was probably pipped it over the edge of just like I got a whole sequence about a guy's giant balls. Wait.
And the guy's walking down the hallway with the obvious.
It reminded me of South Park when they've got
the
giant balls.
Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to see him bouncing on him.
Yeah.
Like he's singing Buffalo Soldier.
Like a hippity hop. What are those things called?
Oh yeah, they're like a bunny thing. What are they called?
Like a.
It's one of those things.
Like
I know what they're called, and then as soon as you put the question to me, now it's like information's just gone out of my head for some reason.
I used to have one, but I was like 5 years old.
Space hopper is what you call them over here.
Space hopper.
Okay.
Space hopper. So. I don't know if that was of the U.S. You might well call them hippity hoppity or whatever. But
hot ball, hopper. I don't know. They're called a few things, I guess, over here.
Is the wacky circumference? But then of course, we got the I keep wanting to call him Mick Dundee, Jocko Dundee, Peter Boyle. He owns a nightclub, and of course the nightclub's got some singers. Of course, his main attraction is who will become the love interest to Johnny Dangerously, played by Mary Lou Henner from Taxi. So we got her from Taxi, Danny DeVito from Taxi. It's like a reunion, only they never share a scene together.
Oh,
what a shame!
Of course, we mentioned Mary Lou Henner quite a bit during Returns because she, not only co-starred in a movie with both Batman and the Penguin, but in the Batman animated series. There was an episode where she played the love interest to the Penguin. So she's deeply entranced in Batman lore, despite never having been in a Batman film. But, there's still plenty of time. You can cast her yet.
You never know.
She's still with us, I guess?
Oh, yeah. I think the thing I heard about Mary Lou Henner recently is that, what was it was called? She's got like a medical condition, but where she can remember like everything.
What?
Like she has like this like insane memory where she can like remember her like intricate details about like her early childhood and like everything that ever happened to her. She can remember basically. Like I got let's look up what the exact term is. But
I was going to say that would be amazing, but I mean, there's some things in life you want to
Yeah, I was going to ask, is that a blessing or a curse? I guess it could go either way, right? On any given day.
It's both at once.
Oh, here it is. Hyperthymesia. And it's just people who are able to remember an abnormally large number of their life experiences in vivid detail. So, but apparently that's one of the things. So, imagine if we had her on to talk about Johnny Dangerously. She could tell you everything that happened every day on set.
The shooting schedule.
So, I remember Danny DeVito one time had to go to the bathroom, and then he came out, and his shoelace was untied.
And the second Tuesday we were shooting, he went for lunch, and he had pastrami on rye.
Danny DeVito's calling us up. She told me she would never tell anybody about that pastrami on rye.
DeVito seems like a pastrami on rye kind of guy.
Oh, yeah.
Or rum.
I was till I became a vegetarian.
Maybe Danny DeVito turned out to be like a hardcore, like vegan health nut. And it was just like, oh, is this doing any favors for you, Danny? Because you don't look healthy. But
he did turn out to be that? Or were you saying?
No, I was saying it would be
if
something if he did.
Yeah, that would.
Yeah,
be.
I'd love it if he was, and he's got like a fitness video and things.
But then, like in every scene of him in It's Always Sunny in Philly, he's eating some kind of meat.
Yeah,
yeah,
rum ham. You know, he has such a tight filming schedule that they shoot all it, or they shot. I don't think the show's on anymore. They shot all of Danny DeVito's scenes within like a week, and then did all the other filming when he wasn't around.
Oh,
seriously? Like each season, that was the sort of approach.
I think it is still, because I saw the other day there was like a trailer for the new season. I think it starts this month, so they're still doing it.
It's being released on a streaming service, though, isn't it?
Is it even on UK TV? I torrent it.
I think it's on like FX or something like that. But it's,
do we get that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
You're gonna have to write your legislature.
Yeah. We'll say. A joke I did also appreciate was the bonding between Keaton and Mary Lou Henner when they go out for like a romantic walk together. Mm-hmm. And they end up like the backgrounds just keep changing until like they're out like literally in the middle of the countryside somewhere. As if they've been walking for like 12 hours.
They say, "Where the hell are we?" or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the best thing is, it'll cut from one scene to the next, and he's carrying on the sentence.
Yeah,
like no time has passed. He's just been telling her all about his family for hours and hours and hours.
It is weird looking at the two of them together. Michael Keaton is wearing like more eye makeup than she is. Like, it's very visible that he's got so much eyeliner on. But Mary Lou Henner just like, oh yeah, she's just got a good makeup job. And his just looks like, it almost, if it wasn't so many years in the future, you would be like, did he do this in between takes of Beetlejuice or something? Like, why is it? He's got full on raccoon eyes. Like, what's going on?
But it's only his eyes. There's no.
Maybe he just has that naturally. Like, who's that actor that he's in like Bates Motel and things with the. He's famous for having eyes like that. This is going to bug me. Let me look this up. Edit this part out now.
Black Eyes McGraw. That was a.
Let's see. Bates Motel. Nestor Carbonell.
Oh yeah. Oh, of course the mayor of Gotham in The Dark Knight, Nestor Carbonell.
Oh yeah, the most obvious thing for me to say. I didn't remember that he was even in that. I think because I've seen Bates Motel more recently.
He's also wasn't he? Batman or someone in like The Tick, like the Patrick Warburton.
Yeah.
So there you go. He's deeply entrenched in Batman lore as well.
He is indeed.
Wow, you guys tie everything back to Batman.
Oh, we have to. Everything's connected. You brought up the character there now, Lil Sheridan, as she's called. Johnny falls for her. A young showgirl, new to the big city. Which is not a stereotype we've heard before. But she comes out with one of my favourite lines of the movie as well, where she says, "Do you know your last name is an adverb?" Which it is, and it just completely throws him off. Like, what? Hang on a minute. Because surely he should be like Johnny Dangerous.
Yeah, right. And he came up with that himself when he was a kid, which I thought when they asked him what his name, I forgot how the scene played out, but he called himself Johnny Dangerously. I thought that would have been a nickname that one of the older gangsters would have given him.
Yeah. It seems like something that'd be handed down to him.
He gave it to himself.
Yeah,
Johnny Tightlips.
I don't think that's
in The Simpsons.
that ever like people trying to give themselves a nickname.
Yeah, never works.
Never lands right with me. It's like, no, you don't. You got to earn a nickname. You can't just like come in and be like. That's like George Costanza tried it. That way he's like, yeah, I want to be called T-Bone. It's like, no one's gonna call you that.
Oh, everyone knows I'm J-Dog. So, I really like as well, as Johnny gets bigger and bigger in the underworld, it's got an article about him in the newspaper.
Oh, yeah.
But there's no photos of him. So they've got like a sketch. And is it me or does it look like Sylvester Stallone?
I think
it's Rocky.
That's the joke. Yeah.
Is that the guy?
Is that what they just assumed he looked like? Or did they just pick I don't know. I can't.
Generic
Italian guy. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Because they assume that's what a gangster will look like.
So I guess it's a kind of weirdly appropriate that you're here, Doug. It's like, oh, they've got it's full on like the poster for Rocky. They've essentially got them drawn there.
Exactly. I thought
because there's no way that's just like an accident that looks like Sly, right? That is supposed to be.
Yeah, that has to be. I mean, Rocky was at this time was pretty big, so it wasn't everybody's consciousness.
But this is something though, like they originally actually had Stallone set up to star in this, and they did the first thing they did was drew that thing up, and like, oh crap! And then they was like, you know what? Let's not change it. Like no one will notice the difference.
Hey, you know what? Right? I actually, now you've said it, I could imagine Stallone being in this. I mean, he's in Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
Oh yeah,
I mean, he did do. Wasn't that thing Oscar? He did. That's a gangster thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Couldn't you imagine him being in this movie? Don't change a thing. Keep the gags and everything.
Oh,
because maybe that's what Oscar was. He's like, I missed out Johnny dangerously. So
wow, that's a pretty good.
Oh, thank you.
Pretty good one. His comedic acting is not good.
No. He seems very adamant. I'm not knocking him because I don't know this, but he seems very adamant as well to prove that he's both a comedic actor and a very serious dramatic actor. He wants to do these two things, and he can't really pull either of them off. He's better in like a middle ground.
Yeah, if the comedic bits in movies like The Expendables are way better than when he just does a straight comedy. Stop or My Mom Will Shoot was one of the biggest pieces of garbage ever made.
Wonderful garbage.
Do you know how not to pimp my own stuff, but do you know how he got that movie Stop or My Mom Will Shoot?
If you said on your show, I've forgotten. I have listened to that episode, but it's been a while.
He was trolled by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger put out the word that he wanted this movie. Sly Stallone said, "Oh no." Jumped all over it, and then Schwarzenegger was like, "Ha ha, fooled you."
Oh my god, Arnie is like the king of trolls. I mean, look at Pumping Iron. That's all he does in that movie.
Yeah.
That just makes it like, oh, that's how Arnie got to the top. Like that's crafty thinking of like deliberately setting up a guy to star in an absolutely crap movie.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Yeah. But they had such a rivalry back then that Stallone had to go after it first. He regrets it.
I've never understood the rivalry thing because, and then people try and throw in Bruce Willis, who's completely different.
Yeah.
But I don't see any of those three guys as being remotely the same kind of actor.
No. Because Bruce Willis he is kind of like a comedic actor. Like a lot of the reason why Die Hard works, I think, is because he's being genuinely funny in amongst the action hero-y stuff. But then those two guys are like hyper masculine.
Yeah.
And then John McClane is supposed to be an ordinary guy.
He's an ordinary guy in the first 2 or 3 Die Hards.
Yeah, and then they make him...
You look at the new ones.
Yeah, then they make him like, oh, this guy can drive off a bridge and not bat an eye, and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
He's just supposed to be a regular cop at the beginning.
Yeah, true.
I have to say, though, I was stunned to find out that the new Rambo movie is out like next week.
I saw it advertised on the side of a bus too.
Yeah, and I thought like, oh, that's coming like next year. And then I was just like, wait, why are these posters everywhere? I was like, no, it's out next week. Like, holy crap.
It's looming. Yeah, it's here. It's getting released this Friday.
Oh, man.
Are you excited? See, because I am. But at the same time, I actually think the last one kind of wrapped the story up for me. I didn't realize there was another bit to
Right,
tell.
him going home was the end.
Yeah.
And
Like, what more can happen? Oh, he gets in another fight.
now
That
he's
really
defending
doesn't-
his home front. Now, like his niece or somebody gets kidnapped. It's but it all happens here in the U.S.
See, that's what I don't want, but the trailer looked great.
Yeah,
So I'm torn.
I know it's hard to
Yeah,
argue with that.
It is one I feel like I definitely will watch it at some point. Whether I'll go to the cinema for it is another matter. It might be like, I'll wait till it's streaming.
Oh, I will.
But like, yeah, I'll take man, if it's out and I've got nothing to do that day, maybe I'll take a dander into it. But like, it's not. I thought
Well,
the whole thing.
I'll be going, and I get free tickets, so let me know.
Ooh-wee.
Well, wasn't there a thing though? I don't know. Maybe Doug, you might, if you would know about this, but like, wasn't there a thing with the last Rambo movie in the UK? The Odeon boycotted it because of I think it was some sort of political affiliation with the portrayal of certain people in the film or something. But I remember that been like that coming out and been surprised that it wasn't getting more buzz, and it turned out it was because the Odeon had boycotted it. So it was like, yeah, you'll have to go out of your way to go see this thing because it's not playing in the big cinema chains.
Yeah, like you got to get a bootleg copy of it.
It was kind of like you'd have to go and try to find like, a cinema on the outskirts of the city and stuff. That would be because like the main one in the city center, you have the Fact Center, which is like an art house thing that probably wouldn't show Rambo. It'd be too lowbrow. And then then you might get other ones, but like the main cinema chain boycotted it. So I don't know if that probably made a massive dent in his box office stuff like over here as well. But.
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
It's a weird movie anyway. I love it, but it's so insanely hyper-violent.
Yeah.
Like Rambo.
Yeah, they ratchet it up throughout the movies, I think, because there's there's a lot of violence in the first one, but there's no killing.
No, he doesn't kill anyone, unlike in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I remember the book was more like even-handed as well, because you got a lot of chapters from Teasdale's point of view. And he was just like, you got into his mindset, like he's doing it for Rambo's good. He's like, this guy's gonna get eaten alive in this town if I don't get him out of here. I've got to move this kid along and stuff. Whereas in the movie, it's just Brian Dennehy been like, I'm just
being a dick.
Yeah.
For no reason.
You got long hair. I don't like you. Get the hell out of my town.
Yeah, just harass
Goddamn
him.
hippies.
Yeah.
Anyway, Rambo minutes.
Yeah, I know.
Wait, is there a Rambo minute? There should be.
Not yet. There's one of the guys that I know that does a Rambo podcast is talking about starting Rambo Minute.
Well,
I'll listen.
Yeah.
So get him to do it.
I'll be just nosing about, sleazing around the Minute Maker's page as I usually do, waiting to be like, oh, if you need a guest.
Yeah.
Right over here.
I always feel too rude to say that. I wait for people to contact me.
Oh no, you don't get anywhere with that attitude, John. If I see a project I want in on, I'm like, hey, I'm right here. Just call me anytime.
But Johnny Dangerous.
Oh yeah.
I love the way there is. At one point, people try and assassinate him in this sort of section of the movie, and there's a guy trying to shoot him in a stroller in a pram.
Oh, yeah.
Is he a little person, or is he just bunched in there tight? I can't work it out.
It's a baby with a mustache.
Oh, even better. It reminded me of like Mini-Me in Austin Powers.
Yeah.
It's like something he would do.
I took it to be like the joke was like it's a fully grown man that they've somehow crammed into a baby carriage.
That's what I thought at first, yeah. I love how nobody even comes close to hitting him as well.
Yeah, I know.
In typical movie fashion. And then speaking of things being crammed in, you also see Johnny's mum. She's got some very strange things in her handbag.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, I don't know how you're going to edit around this, Niall, but she has a dildo just in her handbag.
I enjoy that joke in the IMDb trivia. They have to point out that joke. That's in amongst the trivia. Is like Johnny's mother has a dildo in her purse. It's like, yeah. Is there any other jokes in the movie you want to explain to us?
No
It
need.
was a great gag.
In case you missed it.
Yeah, I think it was genuine. Like, people probably didn't pick up on that one. It was so subtle.
Yeah.
Well, because like Naked Gun, they probably thought, there's too many jokes for you to wrap your head around.
Rapid fire. Like Niall said, you throw out so many jokes, some of them's got to land.
of course, then we get also brought back memories to me from our previous seasons. This thought was a bit weird seeing like Griffin Dunn, obviously Johnny's little brother, announcing then he wants to go work for the district attorney's office. And he's talking. He actually says the line, "I want to dedicate my life to fight crime." He's saying it to Michael Keaton. And he's talking about working in a DA's office. It's like district attorney fighting crime.
Because we don't have that title here, we have different kind of titles. My association of the DA is Batman.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever I hear the DA.
And they're almost always corrupt DAs. That's all you ever know about them. It's like, oh yeah, Harvey Dent was a good guy, turned very bad. And then all the other like fictional DAs is like that guy from LA Confidential, corrupt as sin. Danny DeVito in this movie playing the DA, also corrupt as all hell.
Yeah, they go one or two ways. They're either a corrupt law enforcement agent, or they're like super dedicated to finding and hunting down the people that are doing wrong.
But usually with a bad consequence.
Usually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could say that for DeVito later in the film.
Oh, yeah, true.
There's an interesting consequence for his corrupt actions.
We'll say talking about things that are bad though, because we do get seeing DeVito, and then this wig he's got going on. I don't know what it's there for, because everyone.
It's funny.
It's funny though. I just thought it was just distracting. So
No, it's
like,
not
why
his
is that
hairpiece. That's a joke.
Yeah, because, back in the old days, the hairpieces were very obvious.
And that's even weirder though, because there's a scene where they show you like one of those newspaper clippings, and there's a picture of the DA, but it's very obviously a picture of DeVito in Taxi. Like
No.
that's Louis De Palma. Like that's what he looks like. What the hell is this doing here? It's very, very strange.
Everyone loved Taxi.
Oh, I understand. Like it was a great show.
I say that actually, right? Taxi. I'm a bit too young for it, I think.
Yeah.
I would watch it when I was off school sick. It would be on Channel 4 here at like 7 a.m. So I'd get up, I wasn't feeling well, so I wouldn't go to school. So it's like, well, I'll just sit and watch TV, and something like that would be on.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know what the hell this is. I don't understand the jokes. I'm 8.
I think I saw it when they repeated it a lot when my dad first got in Sky Television. It used to be played a lot during the day. And then my dad loved it, so I watched a lot of it with him. And then from watching it with him, I was like, this is a really good show. So I have an infinite time for Taxi.
Yeah,
I think I'd like it now.
I vaguely remember seeing episodes of it back then, but that's one of those, like, it's considered a classic comedy. But they don't show. Do they show reruns of it? I never see, like a Taxi marathon on anywhere.
They when I was a kid, it was on here, but I don't think they really show it now, do they? I haven't seen it.
It does have one of like the greatest sitcom jokes ever, where there's an episode where Christopher Lloyd is getting his taxi license, and the guys, the rest of them, like Judd Hirsch and everyone's in the corner trying to help him, like be there for moral support. And so he's filling out the writing test, and because Christopher Lloyd, he's like this drugged out, like hippie stoner character, and he's just like, psst, what does a yellow light mean? And they're like, slow down. He's like, oh, what does a yellow light mean? Slow down.
That's like a gag for this.
But that goes on for ages. And at one point he's just like, what? And has to look down and read the question again.
Yet you don't like this film.
Yeah, I know.
Because that joke's funny. These are throwing out jokes that are like that aren't as good, I think is the problem.
Still in the same family of jokes, I would say.
Yeah, totally.
I can imagine there's probably shared writers and stuff like that. Because they've got shared taxi cast members, so I can imagine probably a couple of the writers came over as well. But it just, I don't know what it was. It's just like, it just didn't. It's just some jokes landed and just some didn't. And it was just really like, it just wasn't. I wish I thought it was as funny.
How do you feel about the, the vermin repeat jokes? Like, my father hung me on a hook once.
That's my only other one that I don't really get.
That doesn't seem like a joke. That just seemed like a recurring bit in terms of like, this is a thing the guy says. It's a threat. Mm-hmm. But what's the joke? Is like, I only did it the once because I killed him or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's not a joke. That's just like a thing like a gangster might actually say. Like, it didn't strike me as a funny... Like, if he was doing, like, increasingly silly things where, like, you know, my father only stuck dynamite up a beaver's ass once.
Yeah.
Once, you know, something like that. I would be like, oh, yeah, I get it now.
Well,
But this is all like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, my sister shoved me once. It's like, well, that, yeah, I could imagine an actual gangster movie having that actual line in it without any, you know, difference at all.
I guess it's supposed to be funny because if he said it once, it wouldn't have been funny, but he says it like 4 times, so it's like that, you know, you keep doing the same thing over and over again principle, it becomes funny.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I didn't find it that funny, but by the end, I was looking forward to him doing it again. If that makes sense. I was like waiting for the next one. Like, what's he going to do this time?
Say the line, Piscopo. He did have a good line though. I did like where he keeps showing off this gun he has, and he's like, "This thing can shoot through schools." I was like, "Oh, that's a funny line."
Yeah, it's a really weird thing to say as well.
Especially, I mean, nowadays when I heard that, I was like, "Ooh,
Oh God." Oh no, I didn't even think about that.
Oh God, yeah. Actually, no, that does make it a really dark tinge to the whole thing.
You guys don't have that problem in England."
No.
No.
So maybe that's why it wasn't in your forefront. But yeah, I heard that and I was like, "Ooh, shooting and in schools." Ooh.
Yeah.
We have plenty of issues, but that is not one of them at present. So hopefully that stays.
We
that
own
way.
the distinction, unfortunately.
But there's just other little jokes throughout though that I did appreciate. Like there's they do get Maroney deported at one point, and it has
this whole scene was great.
But yeah, it has the newspaper comes up and it says like Maroney deported to Sweden, claims he's not from there. It's like, oh, that's funny.
So that's obviously part of the joke then. Like we were saying, where's he from? So the movie obviously understands that like
Nobody
we're confusing
knows.
you
Yeah.
deliberately.
Yeah.
Like he's also we didn't really mention like he's very blatantly been aged up. Like I think they've really like put on a lot of gray paint into his hair and stuff. Where he's probably a guy who was like 34 or something, but they're trying to make him look 60 or something. Or so.
If they remade it, I could see that Kaivan Novak playing him.
Oh yeah. Oh actually yeah totally.
He'd be great at it.
I wonder if they'd do like now after Scorsese's done all this work with The Irishman, where it's taken him a year to de-age Pacino and De Niro and stuff. They're like, oh yeah, so the Johnny Dangerously remake took 5 years to make, so we could digitally age up and age down the various characters.
Coming soon.
Joe Piscopo's back. He's playing the same character at the same age. We just took millions of dollars to de-age him to look like 35-year-old Joe Piscopo rather than 65-year-old Joe Piscopo.
Hell, I'd watch it.
Hell yeah. We also, in this Maroney bit, though, we get another thing I absolutely adored. It's making fun... Well, they're accusing him of various crimes in the courtroom. And they're making fun of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And they come out with the best one to me, the Groundhog's Day Beheadings.
Yes. I do actually have that one written down as well.
It's unnecessarily brutal, the name as well.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Dave and Sean there as well from Groundhog Day Minute.
Yeah, but all these, they happen on holidays, obviously. The Mother's Day Massacre, the Christmas Day Slaughter, the Lincoln's Birthday Mutilation.
I like the way none of them are even like alliteration or anything.
No,
just
right.
No. Pick any. They get more obscure, the holidays, as they go on as well.
Yeah. Let's wait for the Arbor Day stabbings.
Because Groundhog's Day is obscure to me because until I was probably like in my 20s, I thought it was made up for the film.
Oh yeah, I think we said that when we were on the show. It was like, this is an actual holiday then. Like,
yeah,
it was crazy to think like, oh, this is a thing that people. And then I was like, I remember being on there and being disappointed to find that like, oh, it's a holiday, but it's not a holiday because people still go to work and stuff. Yeah. So they get up extra early to look at this groundhog, and then at like 8 a.m. they're done. And then they go to work. It's like, if it's a holiday, take the whole damn day off. Get the groundhog on at like freaking 2 p.m. or something.
Or at least give me some free time until lunch.
Yeah. But it seems like it's more of it's like an anti-holiday. It's making you get up early to go to work like do something before you go to work. It's like, why get up extra early to take an extra cold shower or something? Like it's...
Yeah, England wouldn't be on board with it. This is a country that lacks enthusiasm.
Yeah,
So we can't get excited for anything.
The littlest crap makes us excited.
Yeah, we find that quite endearing. About
Is that right?
Yeah, because everybody's just miserable here all the time. Nobody likes anything. Nobody likes being here.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's just depressing.
As people have been paying attention to the news, things are only getting better over in the...
Oh yeah. The only way is up.
Can't get any worse.
Well, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for.
In terms of like a scene that I didn't like, but they're throwing it at you like this is funny. There's a scene where Griffin Dunn goes to the DA, and then DeVito starts this whole thing of like offering him bribes, and it's presented like it's like the prizes of a game show, and it goes on for like 5 minutes, and the whole time I was like, I get it, like yeah, like you could have this speedboat and stuff. It's like, like it just the joke just was like I see what the joke is. But it's just not, it just wasn't funny to me. I don't know what it was, but it's like, in principle, I see in paper that, like, yes, this is a funny concept. But...
It was a little unnecessary. Seemed forced, maybe. Yeah, I didn't find that one too funny either.
Yeah.
Oh, I liked it.
I'm sorry, John.
I really enjoyed that bit. Just DeVito being like a cheesy game show host.
But there's a whole thing then where DeVito, because Griffin Dunn, he's not playing ball. We should mention the briefest of plot lines does appear in this movie. The film's actually pretty much a remake of a movie called Manhattan Melodrama, wherein there's the rise of a gangster and the rise of his brother, who becomes the district attorney, and they're at odds because one's a criminal and one's a guy who takes down criminals for a living. But the criminal brother, is actually secretly rooting for his law-abiding brother because
that's kind of implied in this later on.
Oh yeah, I think this is pretty much just like if not an acknowledged, they must have known that, like, yeah, we're just taking that plot and spoofing it basically, amongst many other genre tropes. It's a weird bit where like they cut the brakes on Griffin Dunn's car. He gets in a car crash to do the whole. His body's completely encased in a cast, which is weirdly appropriate because I think the next year Griffin Dunn was in Martin Scorsese's After Hours, where the same exact thing happens to him, where he's put in. Man. He gets put in like I think it's Linda Florentino or something. It might be Catherine O'Hara. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember he's hiding from the police at one point, and she's like a kooky artist, and she puts him in a body cast, and then the entire thing, and then that just gets lifted by some people, and he's put in the back of a van, and then After Hours is a great movie. But it's just kind of like Griffin Dunn has a really bad night in New York where he just flits from character to character and a whole bunch of really crazy crap happens to him, basically. But then you get this weird scene which, going off things that are like, I see the jokes here, this isn't that funny. Johnny confronts the DA, and there's a weird bit where it's implied that DeVito is like flirting with him. Yeah. At one point, you're like, okay, this is weird, and then it's like, I don't know if this is that funny. And then you think like Johnny's setting him up to be like shot or something, and then he just abruptly leaves, and then like like a bull or something comes in.
Yeah, because he's given him the red jacket.
Yeah. And it's just like, he was killing him by getting him like matadored to death, basically.
That is an elaborate assassination.
But that was like after a long run of been like, oh no, this is landing for me. Then that joke is like, no, that's funny that he set him up to be like a bullfighter, so this bull would appear from nowhere and kill him.
Yeah, a bull in the middle of New York out of nowhere breaks into the restaurant.
Did he have the bull outside waiting, or did the bull just happen to stroll by?
Well, he looks at his watch and then walks away. So, like, oh, the bull should be here any minute. Yeah,
he's arranged.
Yeah.
I mean, if you came across that crime, I mean, obviously it's bad, someone's been murdered, but you would be like, that's impressive. Good work. I never would have thought of that one.
Nope. Very
it's
thoughtful.
Kind of you think that was making... I don't know, Doug, you yourself are a law enforcement officer. If someone was to be murdered via a bull, do you think this would confound the police even more and take them off the scent of the murderer, or do you think that would be an even more obvious paper trail to be able to track down someone who's murdered someone via a bull?
You would have to, I guess, first figure out where the hell the bull came from. If it was, if it was just like, a bull territory, where bulls roam freely, then you could say, oh, it was just an accident. But in the middle of Manhattan, you should probably ask yourself a few more questions like, this isn't normal. What is this bull doing here?
It was just having a casual stroll through the city.
Right.
As they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially in New York.
When I lived in Pakistan, you did just used to get bulls wandering around half the time. Like my school bus would stop at some lights, and then just a bull would pull up next to you, and you could lean out the window and give it a stroke.
Oh man!
Did you ever try to give someone like a red jacket or like a red napkin and see?
I probably was wearing red. Also, it was the early 2000s. There was some crazy colors going on, and I think I had giant red metallic Jinkos.
Oh wow, that is a look.
It was a look.
Are bulls not aggressive by nature?
These ones just seem pretty chill. I don't know what they were doing to them. Maybe it's a special breed. I don't know.
Yeah, I always kind of assumed bulls were probably pretty chilled, because they're just kind of like big cows. So I was like, I assume they must have been for the bullfighting, probably aggravated beforehand, and that's why.
They stab them now.
Yeah,
that's true.
Unfortunately.
Anywho.
But, yes. On a lighter note, it's funny you said about DeVito flirting with him, because other than Mark Kelly, by icon, I picked up on that as well. Was like, does he like really fancy him? Is he trying to genuinely like sleep with him?
Yeah,
I thought maybe he's just so charming that even the DA can't help but be enamored by him.
He can turn anyone.
Yeah,
he's Johnny Dangerously, damn it.
But who knows?
It could be, or maybe the DA is used to using his charm. I just flirt with everybody to get my way.
Well, he dies before we get to find out, so.
Yeah.
Tragically.
Unfortunately, yeah, because I could have done with more DeVito in this, but that goes for everything he's in.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should mention as well, I think we did mention it in the green room, and we definitely mentioned it back when recording Batman Returns, but Vincent Schiavelli is also in this movie very briefly. He's standing outside with Maroni, and they have, I think he has 3 lines or something. And it feels like that's a bit of a waste of Vincent Schiavelli. He's a great actor, great face, but they even film him from quite a distance away, so you can't even really tell that it's him. You just have to be on the lookout for him.
Yeah.
If he felt a bit wasted, DeVito does indeed feel a bit wasted. Feel they did have a missed opportunity to have DeVito and Mary Lou Henner in a scene together just for the Taxi reunion and stuff, because they had great chemistry on that show. I would say that was a bit of a missed opportunity. I would have been happy had they had even if it didn't make any sense, but it doesn't have to because of the silly nature of the movie. But had DeVito been the Griffin Dunn part, he was playing Johnny Dangerously's little brother or something.
Ooh,
I would have been well on board for that.
But he plays the sleazy guy so great. The corrupt DA is the perfect part for him.
Oh yeah, I always love it when he's playing a sleazy kind of character. He
every
can play any
film
part,
that features Danny DeVito. Pretty much.
There's a couple of roles where he's trying to play a lovable, kind of straight man, and you're meant to genuinely like him. And it's a shame because in real life he seems like a lovely guy, but I like to see him play jerk.
Mm-hmm.
He does it so well. But then they ruin it with some movies, like in Romancing the Stone, he's playing the villainous character. And then in the sequel, it's everyone liked that villain. Let's kind of make him a good guy. It's no, that ruins what's fun about him.
It's early days Fast and Furious syndrome. Where it's
yes.
This major villain is now this part of the family.
And you have to forget how evil he's been.
Yeah.
Just pretend that didn't happen.
It's just again, it's been brought up enough because of the release of Hobbs and Shaw, but he killed Han! He killed a major character, and now he's just best mates with these people? What the hell's going on?
It's okay, he's rehabilitated.
Yeah. He's remorseful for his sins.
Yeah.
Has he ever apologized?
I don't think he ever did.
Even one line. Yeah, sorry about that.
I think to apologize is to admit guilt.
Little
I
apology
think he's
goes a long way.
Look, I was doing what I had to do, all right? That kind of weirdly ties in well to this one, because we got two people from the same family completely at odds in terms of, like, Keaton's just doing it for to keep, his mother in wealth and to keep himself in wealth and stuff, keep the family name going. But of course, Griffin Dunn, although you think, like, you can never quite tell, because you would assume the DA that would be a well-paying job, but at the same time, it might not be at all. It might be like, you're kind of a civil servant, basically. And
yeah, I get the impression it's well-paying, but for the work,
yeah.
like, you could always do with a little a little under the table.
Well, you're still an attorney. Attorneys do make quite a good living.
Yeah. I mean, we see
I
all
would
the
think
friggin'
so, yeah.
Billy D. Williams in Batman, swaggering about with, like, silk coats and a big cigar and the rose. Like, he looked like he was making a fortune as DA in that movie. So, of course, then Tommy Lee Jones's district attorney can afford weird leopard print half suits and stuff. Wherever the hell they come
clearly
from.
been tailor-made.
I can't wait to get into just discussing what the hell is going on with Two-Face's fashion in that next movie.
Speaking of clothes, though, Johnny finally, he gets arrested. He goes to jail. He's going to go to the chair. But while he's in prison, he has the coolest clothes.
Oh, yeah.
He's wearing those prison clothes so stylishly. Why has he got a better outfit? He's got like a jacket with it. Nobody else has that.
I don't think it's because he's a big name. Like, he gets within prison, he even gets the respect because everyone likes him in there too. Like, everyone's shaking his
Yeah, and
hand.
he's eating sushi.
Yeah. I think it's just like, he's got the power. He's just like, so like, that's a kind of you see that in a bunch of movies where it's like you have the one big time inmate who actually kind of controls the prison from within and stuff. Like,
yeah, but aren't you kind of supposed to keep that under wraps?
Always got my mind would go to Porridge, classic British sitcom with Ronnie Barker.
That's an old one.
But they had that guy who was in one of the maesters in Game of Thrones, but he played the congenial Harry Grout, who was like the big time gangster who ran Slade Prison. And you go into his place, and he'd always have, like, really nice things in his cell, and it made it very obvious that he had, like, substantial wealth in there. But the guards are all paid to, turn a blind eye and all that kind of stuff. So.
Same thing in Goodfellas.
Of course,
yeah.
I do also love that. I think we talked about in the main show as well, like Bruce Wayne's casual hanging about the house look in the first movie featured like a cravat. And Johnny Dangerously hanging about the prisons Michael Keaton loves a cravat, apparently.
Well, I work on the site of a prison, so I could kind of, in theory, try and go over the prison wall there and see if anyone's wearing a cravat.
I think you're going to have to,
and then we'll know
John.
who the kingpin is.
I'm willing to bet the answer is no.
This is your duty now. But wonder, like, maybe Michael Keaton was a secret, like, new romantic or something. Like, loved the eye makeup, loved the cravat. It was the 80s. Like, maybe he was like, I'm gunning for, like, the Human League movie or something. Like, I'm hoping that they're going to make one. And I'm going to be in line to play I'll play all of them. I'll play the whole damn band.
Well, Michael Keaton, if you're listening, Duran Duran or Spandau Ballet?
Spandau Ballet.
That's what we need to know. Wow. Which one?
I'm obligated to say Spandau Ballet because a mutual friend of me and John one time served a cheesecake to Tony Hadley. So, because of that, now we're
That's amazing.
You're bound. You're bound to Spandau Ballet now.
That's exactly. It's like, well, I kind of know Tony Hadley. Know him. Kind of know Tony Hadley through this one guy who gave him a cheesecake one time.
That's the best claim to fame ever. I don't have anything remotely as good as that. I was sat in a chair once where Mick Jagger was supposed to sit next to me but went home instead. That's about as close as I can get.
Nice.
You told me one time you blanked Jack Straw or something, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, the former politician Jack Straw. Yeah, I didn't want to meet him. I bumped into David Guest.
Oh, Dave also bumped into David Guest several times.
No, but I physically bumped into him.
Right.
He got, who was married to Thingy?
Liza Minnelli. Yeah.
Liza Minnelli, yeah. He got out of his car he was living here in Liverpool for a while. He got out of his car without looking and just walked right into me.
Oh, man.
He used to be like a feature of Lark Lane. Several people used to talk about, I saw David Guest. And
that's where it happened.
So I remember he did die. And then I only found out recently that Liza Minnelli is still alive.
Yeah.
I thought she died. For some reason in my head, it's like within the last 10 years, I can remember hearing that Liza Minnelli died. And then when she wasn't...
the Berenstain Bears all over again.
The Mandela effect.
Because when she wasn't in that, like, the later seasons of Arrested Development, I was like, it's because she's dead, obviously. And then I found out, like, no, she's still gone. She's still around. Yeah. I was like, oh, why did I think she was
aged
dead?
in about 20 years either.
But
she's looked the same for the last 30 years.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Why not?
I remember seeing her in talk shows way back in, I think when she was married to David Guest. And she was talking about now, like, she got, like, a hip replacements and... so many. I think she made the joke as like, "Oh, I'm no longer Dorothy's daughter. I'm the Tin Man's kid because I've got so many, body modifications and stuff like that." But when you look at Cabaret and you see her dancing around and stuff, you're like, "Oh yeah, she must have been wearing out that body." Because there's an angle she sits on a chair in that movie where I'm like, that could not have been comfortable. It just looks like a nightmare looking at it. It's like,
it ain't about comfort; it's about the sex appeal.
Right. Oh yeah. But you imagine that's just like the way those legs are splayed and the way they're contorted and stuff. It's like, that's probably why she's got freaking hip replacements and stuff. It's because like she had to do that for days and days and days on end for one scene, and then we had to do another scene where I did another crazy dance move and stuff.
Well, I'm going to use that to bring it back to the movie slightly here, because you said crazy dance move, and something that comes up now that's pretty crazy is Johnny's planning his escape. But it cuts to his mother going to the theater, to the cinema there, and the cinema snacks. She gets some white fish.
Oh yeah,
which I thought was genius. That I had to pause the movie. I was like, and all I could think of was recently I went to see a show. I went to see it was a drag show, and the drag queen kept saying, "Oh, there's free shots coming later on," and their whole shtick was that it was like they're Jewish, so they were being a Jewish grandma, and instead of a shot of booze, it turned out it was gravy with a matzo ball in it.
Oh my god!
And it was genius, and I was like, I drank it and ate it. It was wonderful.
Oh, nice.
I'm assuming it was vegan friendly then.
Yeah.
You're just like, no, just because I appreciate this joke so much, I'm going to forego my my ethics and eat this meatball.
It was veggie gravy. It was fine. But it just seemed so out of place in like a nightclub that I thought this was similar. It was fantastic.
I did also appreciate the fact like they had to do the old cliche thing of like, it turns out Joe Piscopo is the one serving her stuff. He's gone deep undercover and he's actually serving whitefish to hundreds of people to get close to Johnny's family.
It's the most common cinema snack, whitefish.
Yeah.
That's what we all get.
What does
right?
he hand it to her in like a napkin, right? Rolled up in a napkin or something?
Yeah, you don't even have like a paper plate.
Oh, I know. Just here's this wet fish in a napkin.
Just chew on it, it'll be fine.
Oh, man.
I like here as well Johnny's weird scheme to get out of jail and get to the cinema. Because, we haven't actually said why they're going to the cinema. Because his brother is going to get assassinated.
Yeah. At the
by vermin.
At the premiere of the Roaring Twenties, like classic James Cagney gangster movie. And a weird move as well that kind of slightly annoyed me. Joe Piscopo knows, like, when Cagney gets whacked in the picture, that's when we're gonna whack, the Griffin Dunn. And it's like, it's the premiere night. No one's seen the movie.
Oh.
How do you know that Cagney is going to get killed? And how do you know when he's going to get killed when no one's seen the damn thing?
He was in the 1930s version of the old internet message boards.
He reads spoilers.
He knew. He read the spoilers. He had a draft script.
It's on the Telegraph message boards or something.
Imagine that. Yeah, you're telegraphing someone's spoilers.
That was like the modern day, or that was like the 1920s version or 1930s version of people writing like Han Solo dies because like, someone just said that on the telegraph. It's like he's just like Cagney gets killed. Oh god damn it!
Even worse, by Morse code. But as well, that his plan to escape. So he's going to the chair. He demands to be killed tonight. So he gets taken off to the chair as a favor because they all like him, and does he assemble or try to assemble a real Tommy gun, or does he just put things together that look like a Tommy gun?
Oh, I took it to be that it was an actual Tommy gun because that was kind of partly the joke, is that they all had the individual bits of a Tommy gun.
That's what I thought, but then he doesn't put it together very well because he throws it and it falls apart.
Maybe.
So what's the gag exactly in that bit?
I don't know. That's a good call. Maybe he just didn't put it together well. Maybe just.
Yeah, I suppose it's probably more complicated than most movies make it.
Right.
Look, so.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's a head scratcher.
Could have done
But
the
either
old
way, it works.
Yeah, I like it.
Jim Carrey in the Mask bit of just having like a balloon and then turning that into a Tommy gun. Would have made as much sense, really.
Yeah. Well, in a movie like this, it wouldn't be out of place either.
And it gets him out of prison because he escapes, and the police don't really seem that bothered. Like, they chase him, but
I thought
nobody seems to care.
He was going to do more of that acrobatic fighting like he did when he was a kid.
Yeah, like, why wasn't that a recurring thing? Like, you see him do it as a teen, and that's it.
Yeah. I think there was, again, because he's so well liked. There's even a vibe when like the governor guy, who I'm assuming was going to be the one to throw the switch. Like, even when he leaves him, there's a kind of really thankful, like, oh, thanks for not killing me, Johnny. Like, there's kind of a congeniality between them in terms of, like, I know you had to stick me up this gate, but, like, hey, it's okay. And, like, there was, it was just like, oh, he's gentleman crook, basically.
Yeah, it's professional respect.
Yeah, you have to have honor between warriors.
Should also mention at one point, I don't think it's on the way to the chair, but at one point during one of the prison sequences, one of the guards who's leading Johnny about's played by Joe Flaherty, who people may know as the guy from the end of Back to the Future 2 who delivers the letter to Marty McFly.
Yes.
And also played Lindsay Weir's, like Linda Cardellini's dad in Freaks and Geeks, like one of the best parts of that show. You always have things like, oh, I had a friend who had premarital sex night of a prom. You know what happened to her? She died. Heroin overdose the next day.
He was also
like Joe Flaherty's like every time I see him, it's like, oh, there he is. I love that guy.
He was in Happy Gilmore too.
Oh yeah,
he was the jackass guy.
Oh, of course.
But very underrated comedy actor. That guy. Happy to see him pop up somewhere.
And that's not even to talk, about the goddamn parrot. We haven't brought that up.
Oh, yeah.
But
the game of telephone where it goes down and then obviously it gets more garbled as it gets to Johnny. Mm-hmm. But then when it reaches him, he knows exactly what it means.
He could decipher it.
And then he's just like, oh, yeah, I know this grapevine. So he just understands how messed up it all gets as it's coming towards him.
Yeah, that was good because normally the gag is just like something stupid gets said at the end, but this flipped it.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you catch the skipper from Gilligan's Island also?
Oh,
he was.
I don't think I did though, because Gilligan's Island, not a thing in my life. Never. I don't know. Maybe I've been different for you, John, but like
no, it wasn't like a really big thing here. But because Americans bring it up so much, I have like looked into it.
I've seen like stills and like maybe occasional clips. But I'm still just like, I know Gilligan's a guy, wears a white hat, and there's two women and another guy. It's just like, and they're trapped on an island. And apparently, that's the show.
I think there were 6 or 7 people altogether that got stranded together. But the desk sergeant here that's calling out the description of the car over the radio is the skipper.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I'm surprised it's not one that they can you remember in the 90s they had that real period where like they were hardcore into remaking American sitcoms from the 60s as movies. So you had the Brady Bunch movie, like Beverly Hillbillies and stuff like that. The Steve Martin's Sergeant Bilko movie and stuff. I'm surprised, did they ever try a Gilligan's Island? Because that seems like that might have been a thing.
Yeah, I don't.
That way I might have heard like, oh, Bill Murray is playing Gilligan or something like.
I don't think they've never touched Gilligan's Island for some reason. They've never remade it in any way.
Ah.
Well, I'm not saying they should, but you would assume that's the exact kind of thing they would look into remaking now.
Yeah, because that's another one that was super popular.
Yeah, and it's been long enough that, like, you know, most kids these days probably don't want to watch the old one. It'd feel a bit dry to them, maybe. So you could update it for the kids now.
Yeah. Just do what they do. Because a lot of those ones, then they have to kind of make fun of it. Because, like, you know, the Starsky and Hutch movie isn't just like a straight Starsky and Hutch adaptation. It's like, no, we have to make fun of how silly the show was and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I'm surprised. Like, a feeling that might have made Gilligan, because that was how I heard of like Lost in Space. It was because like, oh yeah, Matt LeBlanc made that movie. I'd never seen the show, but I know that movie because, you know, it was
usually
a big thing.
If there's a situation like that where, you know, you kind of wonder why it hasn't been done, it's probably because of some legal garbage about the rights or something.
Yeah.
Coming back to this with the damn theme song.
Yeah. But but yeah, we're right on the tip of the climax of the movie. So I guess. But that's even now trying to remember what happens at the end of the movie.
Well, it's a bit like, it's funny, but it's a bit anticlimactic, really. Like, Vermin's about to shoot him. Johnny dives in front of the bullet. He makes it in time, you see, to the cinema and dives in front of the bullet. And the bullet misses him, but hits the brother anyway, doesn't it? But he's got a cigarette case.
Oh, it's the cigarette case from the beginning of the movie that Peter Boyle was that protected him when he got shot.
Yeah, but Johnny misses with his save.
Yeah, I think it's the thought that counts.
Yeah, I was gonna say the effort was there.
He tried to save him. Yeah.
I will say though, another weird kind of almost tie-in to the first Batman movie, because remember we discussed, and even it still doesn't look like it's supposed to be, but recall Jack Napier's lucky deck, and he takes out the Joker card. It's got a bullet hole, was indicating that he's been shot, and it didn't hit him because it got lodged in the deck of cards and stuff. So again, but again, that's just a gangster movie kind of trope, really, isn't it? Like
it is.
Yeah, but you know, it does tie the two movies together, kind of though. But that got brought up again recently though, because someone on the Listeners Cave posted a link to a fan movie, a fan prequel of the '89 movie, and in the shot of the card, and that I got immediately, oh, it's a bullet hole, and whereas in the finished blockbuster movie, I still was like, why has the Joker got a weird gray dot on his face? Like, what's that about?
So this fan movie did it better.
Yeah, because it just looks like one thing. You're just like, why is it Jack Nicholson got a deck of cards where the Joker card looks exactly like him? That's weird. And it's like, oh, he has a gray dot where he's going to get shot in the cheek later. Why is that gray dot there? And then throughout the season, I think I was like, oh, wait a minute, that's supposed to be a bullet hole.
Sorry, Tim Burton, fans are better.
Yeah.
Oh man, poor Tim.
Oh, should be crying on his bundle of Disney money he made from that friggin' Dumbo movie.
Right.
But yeah, Johnny saves the day there. The governor immediately pardons him. I assume you'd probably have to go to, you know, you'd have to process paperwork and stuff. You can't just go, yeah, you're pardoned.
No, it usually doesn't work that way. But in the movies, it does.
Yeah. You can just say to all the police, it's fine, don't worry. Let him go.
You could go free, yeah. It's just like that.
It's okay, I'm the governor.
If only it was that easy.
In our primary school, they had like a cut down version of Oliver Twist that was performed as the school play, and I remember at the end of that, like Fagin is just let go. Like the police catch him, and they're like, "Oh, Fagin, you rascal! Go on, just don't do it again."
Yeah.
And then, like,
what will he get up to next?
Yeah, and then like a year later, me as a kid watching like the movie, I've been like, "Oh no, it doesn't end that happily for him." He's like, he's kind of just out in his ass. So he's like looks like he's going to do it again because that's all he's got and stuff. But
well, they gotta freshen it up for the kids. You can't have a grim ending in a kid's play.
I don't know. I think people need to cut kids a bit of slack here. When I was a kid, I liked dark things. I liked gross stuff. I like I don't say violent. I wasn't like, I wasn't a deranged kid. But, kids like some pretty out there weird things. And I think people mollycoddle them a little bit too much.
I was surprised the other day, though, because I've got friends now who have small children. And I was reading one of them a story from like an old storybook that had like Snow White and all these other things in it. And one of them was a fairy tale I hadn't heard of before. It was a bunch of like 6 little chickens or something.
Oh, right.
And I was reading along, and then the story ends where like a fox tricks them into coming into his house.
Oh, yeah.
And then it just ends there. It's just like, they shouldn't have gone into that house. It's just like, the fox just eats the chickens. And I was just like, where's the rest of the story? Like, it was probably like, it was a page torn out or something? What's happening here?
Old kids' stories were really dark.
Yeah, the fairy tales and stuff.
Yeah, like the original ones. I can't remember which one it is now. It's one of the ones Disney have made into a movie. The main character ends up like losing her feet. Is it Cinderella?
Oh, that's the Little Mermaid.
Oh, is it the Little Mermaid?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and then I think she throws herself into the sea in despair and turns into like foam or something.
Yeah,
It's a really
God.
messed up ending.
Wasn't like Hansel and Gretel, like the witch actually ate the kids or something like that?
Yeah. I think it's the same as these chickens. Like she eats them.
Yeah.
I think it's
Wow.
back in the day though. It was just supposed to be a lesson. It was much like the Joe Flaherty Freaks and Geeks stories. The message of the story was like, you know what happened to my friend who went into a witch's house? He died. Shouldn't have gone in there.
Heroin overdose.
Oh, nice.
But anyway, I guess that's Johnny Dangerously.
Yeah, I mean, you get one last. It cuts back to the present, which is 1935. Johnny finishes his little tale to the shoplifter, and Johnny sends him on his way. Gives him a cat. I was going to say a puppy, but doesn't he give him a cat actually?
Mm-hmm.
Because he was gonna steal a dog at the start, but Johnny changes it to a cat. Why?
Wasn't it a cat in the beginning? It was a dog in the beginning.
I think it was a dog. Yeah. So is that to show? That's to show the character's growth. He's changed.
Would have been better
Clearly.
though had like the kid gone out into an alleyway and a cat just appeared to him, and he just looked around. It's like, what's this? Is this cat like the spirit of Johnny Dangerously?
Oh.
But then the camera goes up into the sky, and then Johnny Dangerously's head disappears. And people are like, "What is that? What happened there? Is the cat real? Like, is the head real? What's going on?"
Oh, but Johnny, he's gone straight. He just works in this pet shop, and he says, crime doesn't pay. But then he goes out, and he's got a fancy car. He's got some nice clothes on his family and stuff, and he says, "Well, it paid a little." Oh.
But he doesn't let the kid know that.
Yeah.
No.
That's the moral of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though he's profiting from it, he's like, yeah, you don't want to follow in my footsteps. It was a tough road.
Exactly.
Stay in school, kids.
I'm trying to think of like other random notes throughout the movie. Like at one point, because I was a bit surprised at the beginning, they really build up that Dom DeLuise is in this film.
Yeah.
And he's there as the Pope for maybe 5 seconds.
That was my very next note. I said, Dom DeLuise got high billing for such a short appearance.
It was a great appearance, though. The Pope just hanging out in New York City.
Yeah. But it's just like, that's like people complain about Marlon Brando getting friggin' top billing for Superman when he's only in it for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's true.
But this is just like Dom DeLuise is like, hey, yeah, it might even have been supposed to play the Pope. We just showed up and said there was a Pope hat nearby. I'm playing this part now. Like,
he just showed up in the Pope outfit. Nobody even asked him to.
Maybe he was just the draw. Like, oh, Dom DeLuise is in it to get butts in the theater. And then they find out he was in it for about 30 seconds.
That's definitely what they were doing.
I only know Dom DeLuise from like random cameos and things, though. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just like, he's the big cat in An American Tail. He's the crow in
Secret of Nim.
Secret of Nymph, yeah. And then I've seen him in things where it's just like for 2 seconds, it's like, hey, it's me, Dom DeLuise. I'm like, what are you famous for? I'm like,
Blazing
why?
Saddles.
Yeah. But it's like, what was he the star of something? Why is he so?
I don't know. That's a good question. Was he part of like a comedy team or something?
I've got to think it's something like that because I'm the same. Like to me, he's always been a name, but I don't know why.
Yeah.
You can imagine if you look up his obituary, it's like beloved cameo maker Dom DeLuise.
A note I've got, Niall, is something I thought you would have picked up on. Maroney, he's described as having 180 hats.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Which I thought would have been in your ballpark because you are a man with 170 hats.
Yeah. Oh god, I've got to get to work to beat this Maroney guy.
Niall is a hat man. You have a lot of the same hat.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's just because I wear them most days, so it's like, those things get sweaty and stuff after a while. You can't just keep wearing the same one for. So you gotta, and then it's like, well, I like the style of this one, so if they're there, I'll buy a bunch of them, and just like, oh, this will do me for a while. So,
is it all one style, or do you vary?
I do have various styles, but like I kind of keep there's a general one I have for day-to-day wear. That's just like I have several of that to be like,
an evening hat.
Yeah.
A weekend hat.
Yeah.
There is a weekend hat. I do have a weekend hat. I do have a hat to wear, not in the bedroom, as in like in the boudoir.
Oh, in the boudoir.
But I have like a hat because shaved head, it gets cold in the winter. So.
Oh my god! Wait, do you have a sleeping cap like a Victorian? Oh, yes.
It's like a little. I think. Where did it get? People brought it back from. Where was it? Like, can't remember where they were, but someone's brought me back this little fluffy hat thing that I wear in bed all the time.
Amazing! You're like Monty Burns.
Or like Ebenezer Scrooge.
Oh, even better. That's Niall.
I think I do aspire to have like the long nightcap and like the little candle holder to just go out with.
You go to the toilet in the night and you've got a little candle.
You wear one of those night shirts.
That's how I'm picturing you. Not that I picture you in bed often, I must say.
Well, tell me more, John.
This is a relatively PG show.
One other note, though, just I took from the trivia, because I didn't get it at the time, and I do remember thinking, that's a weird line. But it does mention that at one point Johnny's talking about like the kind of wholesome life that he could lead. And he says, like, I could have like a neighbor named Fred. And apparently this is a reference to Fred Rogers of the Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, which was the first role Michael Keaton ever got. He played a panda on the Mr. Rogers show. So it's a little, apparently I think Michael Keaton like led tributes and stuff when Mr. Rogers died. Like he had a whole big thing about him. So he's very thankful to Fred Rogers for giving him a shot and stuff. So it's a little nod to him, apparently. Again, though, much like Gilligan's Island, and it's becoming more apparent this year because they had that Mr. Rogers documentary that everyone was fawning over.
Yeah.
And they've got Tom Hanks playing him now. Never seen Mr. Rogers. Barely know anything about him. Never landed over here. But I understand, like, from what I could imagine, if I watched this documentary about him, like, if I had seen him when I was a kid, this would be, like, the most emotional thing ever.
Yeah.
But, like, I could watch it now and be like, yeah, he seemed like a nice guy, I guess, but, like, he means nothing to me.
There was some legend that he was this badass World War II fighter pilot that killed all these people and stuff, and that he always wore the long sweatshirts because he had tattoos up and down both arms, so he wore those cardigans. But it was all BS.
Oh no!
I know.
I was hoping it was true.
That would have been a cool story, but I don't know why somebody felt the need to make that up.
But you know what? You need to get, Niall? Johnny Dangerously. I think you need to rewatch this after everything me and Doug have said, and you'll appreciate it.
It's delightful.
I will say, though, after every time you and Doug were like citing jokes, most of my responses were laughing, go like, "Oh yeah, that's right. That bit was so maybe
give it another chance."
Maybe if you give me the Cliff Notes version of Johnny Dangerously, where it's just the best of, I'll be like, "Oh, it's great."
To be fair, it could use a little bit of editing and tightening up. It's not perfect, but it was solid. I think solid comedy. I would recommend. But let's play ball and get out of here. Doug, would you like to tell our listeners where they can find you and your wonderful show, Rocky Minute, and anything else you'd like to promote?
Yeah, we, me and my co-host Jay, we do the Rocky Minute, where we go through the Rocky movies 1 minute at a time, much like you guys do with the Batman series. We are getting set to, we started recording season 3 already. I haven't done much editing yet, but yeah. Season 3 will probably debut probably late fall, early winter this year. Hey. So yeah, that's our network. Our home network is duelinggenre.com, where you can find us and a whole bunch of other minute by minute projects. So check it out.
It's a wonderful show and a great movie. So, I'm happy to see/hear that you're doing it justice.
Well, I appreciate that, and thanks for your listenership and your support.
But yeah, check that out, everyone, and come and message us everywhere. We're on Facebook at the Bat Minute Listeners Cave. We're on Twitter at Bat Minute. And, come and check out our Patreon. We're on there. We've got shirts on TeePublic. What else have we got on the go? Oh, we have a website now, which is just the episodes. But, if you want to go there, we have thebatminute.com, which is, I thought, oh, it's crap. I have to have a the at the start. But then a friend pointed out, oh, wait, no, because that's even better. It's like the Batman.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, fine. I'm sticking with it.
One thing that's bugging me about that, the trailers for that Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie, where he's like, there's that bit where he says to De Niro, like, when you introduce me, can you call me Joker? And I was like, it's the Joker. It's the Joker. It's a definitive article, for Christ's sake.
The Joker, the Bat Minute.
Yeah.
So
and you never know, maybe in the next hiatus episode, me and John will be talking about the Joker quite a bit. You never know.
Ooh. You'll have to stay tuned to find out what that could possibly be referring to. So see you soon, everybody.